there are lots of different species in the Pleiades, and we reside in many different dimensions. So it's not that we're just ninth dimensional or fifth dimensional, but there are varying games being played out in the Pleiades in different dimensions. So right now, fifth dimensional Pleiadians, ninth dimensional Pleiadians, and occasionally the eighth. It's a bit rare for the eighth to show up. They're observing, but they're standing back. The fifth and ninth are the two dimensions in which you experience beings from the Pleiades, and it's a very varied system. So you have humanoids, you've got reptilians, you've got a lot of what you would consider today to be hybrids. There's kind of been a blending that's gone on over the many eons, and when we talk about that, we're talking about the physicals now.
Sure.
We're not talking about the light beings.
So this would be a lower density or a lower dimensional version of the Pleiadians?
Well, we would say fifth dimensional Pleiadians.
Okay.
And as we said, sometimes it's about humanoids, sometimes it's about reptilians, and then sometimes you'll have interspecies breeding. All right. There's some AI in the Pleiades. And, we've mentioned the artificial intelligence several times, and part of the reason that we're doing that is because this is a bigger issue, especially when it comes to persecution and the right to have your opinion and to have your existence challenged. A lot of those issues are coming up for humanity again, and that was a big AI issue. So...
Yeah, I just recently rewatched this movie called Cloud Atlas, which addresses one of the key themes in the movie was reincarnation, but then or multiple lives in simultaneous times, but then this idea of AI or and the rights that are given to that artificially created species. So these are themes in our science fiction in the current world. So
yes, and it's also a big trauma that is still there that is looking for integration, and so you're trying to play it out on a smaller scale. Right. A lot of the struggle and strife with the AIs started in Lyra, and they were forced out into another galaxy. Many of them are now in the Andromedan galaxy. So we just wanted to mention it. Some of that energy is in the Pleiades at the fifth dimensional level. There are also bird people, if you will, that exist in the Pleiades, and those groups, that species has visited your planet before.
Interesting.
Right. About 20,000 years ago, there was a much greater presence and concentration of those species energy here on the planet.
And all these different species, I guess my mind's being blown today because we all have these images of, Pleiadians look like this, Greys look, or Zetas look like this, and it's great. Thank you for clarifying that there's within the Pleiades system there's all these different creatures and forms. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, we just want to say one other thing here. Think about it this way. We mentioned that Earth has genetic material from thousands of worlds. So think about all the variations of species that exist on your planet. And many of those have what you would consider to be a higher representation, a more intelligent species,
sure.
All right, a conscious species. Right. It's just kind of, they've taken a secondary role, if you will, on this planet for now, but that information is being donated to the collective consciousness because those beings are represented. So all of that history, spiders, for example, the spiders in other sectors of the galaxy are quite intelligent, they're highly organized, and they're quite aggressive. And, you've had wars with the spiders and the fairies, and they have taken over many different planets. They're very conquering. And this still shows up in the collective psyche. Many of you have huge fear of spiders. And if you think about it from a logical standpoint, For the most part, most of them are not poisonous,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very, very tiny.
Right.
And yet your fears around them are very, very large.
Right.
It's because this information is stored in the collective record.
Interesting. Yeah. More so than, some other, there's even nastier looking insects that we, beetles and things like that we're not afraid of.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
Interesting.